Graduate students often approach the literature review as if it were a high-stakes book report. They compile a long, exhausting chronological list, where author A said one thing in 2018 and then author B said another in 2019. This strictly chronological he said, she said format creates a frustrating trap. It summarizes past work, but it does absolutely nothing to generate new academic insight. A properly executed literature review is a dynamic intellectual exercise. Its actual job is to aggressively frame, justify, and anchor a brand new study within a larger academic conversation. To pull that off, the review relies on two distinct engines. First, there is the review of theoretical literature, which provides the conceptual framework, the why you are investigating a phenomenon. Second, there is the empirical literature, which examines the previous data, the what researchers have actually observed and measured. A study that lacks a theoretical framework or an empirical baseline has no anchor. Without both, a researcher cannot demonstrate where the existing knowledge ends and where their own work must begin. Let's test this by looking at a real-world example, a 2011 study by Ali Shahade that evaluated the effectiveness of collaborative writing, specifically having students complete writing assignments in pairs in a language learning environment. Before looking at the data, we need a theoretical lens to understand why we are testing this. We can rely on Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, which posits that learning is primarily a social process driven by interaction with capable peers. With that lens established, we bring in the raw empirical data. The Shahade study tracked 38 university students in the United Arab Emirates over a 16-week period. This chart breaks down the exact findings of the Shahade study. You can see a clear upward trend in content, organization, and vocabulary, meaning collaborative writing improved those specific areas. But look at the bottom. Grammar and mechanics remained completely flat. As a researcher, leaving those facts on the page is not enough. Raw data alone is practically useless until you actively interpret what these specific successes and failures mean for the next generation of students. If we apply the weak descriptive method to this study, the write-up looks like this. Shahade conducted a study on collaborative writing. The study lasted 16 weeks and involved 38 students. That tells the reader almost nothing. It is pure regurgitation of methodology without offering a single analytical insight into the topic itself. A true scholar applies a critical approach. Instead of just listing parameters, they isolate data points to extract actual meaning. By analyzing the findings, we can ask why grammar failed to improve, noting it might only benefit higher-order skills rather than surface-level accuracy. To see if this pattern holds up, you must organize your sources thematically. By grouping multiple studies under specific variables, like grammar or vocabulary, you can spot contradictions and trends across the entire field. This critical method moves beyond mere reporting. It uses the limitations of the past to establish a clear technical rationale for a new investigation. Synthesizing the literature in this way serves a specific function. It reveals the research gap. This is the specific void in human knowledge that remains unstudied. This maps 5 territories to hunt for a gap: empirical, methodological, contextual, theoretical, and temporal. Applying this to Shahade, in the contextual territory, does the same dynamic hold for students in Vietnam? Or in the temporal and methodological territories, would grammar improve if we extended the timeline to 32 weeks? When these gaps are exposed, the research questions follow a predictable logic. The questions essentially articulate exactly what is missing, providing the specific roadmap for the study's design. Look at the last 5 academic papers you read. Are you just listing them in order or critically tearing them apart to find the void? Mapping exactly what is already known is the only scientifically valid way to prove what ultimately remains unknown.